Welcome back. Well, the U.S. Postal Service says it will stop accepting shipments from China and Hong Kong after President Trump imposed new tariffs on Beijing and closed a loophole that allows companies to avoid tariffs if they ship packages less than $800 directly to U.S. consumers. China fired back with retaliation on U.S. Tariffs on U.S. natural gas imports, oil, agricultural, machinery, and certain vehicles. It is also launching an investigation into Google over alleged antitrust violations. President Trump was asked yesterday when he'll speak to Chinese President Xi Jinping about all of this. Watch.
No, we'll speak to him at the appropriate time. I'm in no rush. At the appropriate time.
Do you think that conversation can lend itself to the type of freeze that it meant for the tariffs for Canada and
Well,
Mexico?
we'll see what happens.
Joining me now is Fox News contributor, Heritage Foundation Senior Fellow for China Strategy, Michael Pillsbury. Michael, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here this morning. First, give us your take on this tariff situation. And now the Postal Office not going to accept packages from China or Hong Kong.
Maria, I would call this round one. You remember in the first term, President Trump took about 2 years to really unleash the toughest sanctions against China. There were 13 rounds. Delegations flying back and forth, texts being exchanged, amendments being made. This is a long story, more than 2 years of Mr. Trump very patiently bringing the Chinese around. Then they didn't honor the agreement at all, and Biden let them get away with it. So I would call this a very early phase. And I think Peter Navarro was quite correct yesterday when he told you this is a trade war. I think you did invent the phrase drug war as opposed to trade war. I misspoke. I meant to say it's a drug war.
Right.
So this is a very early phase. There's a lot more tough measures that President Trump can start working on. But right now it seems to be all in China's court. This phone call from Xi Jinping could really change things in one direction or another. That he wants to cooperate on the drug war. He wants to have joint operations with the FBI and the Drug Enforcement Administration. He wants to really crack down on the criminals. Or if Xi Jinping keeps playing dumb, Maria, this seems to be the Chinese strategy. It's a term they use called Hutu. It's easy to learn a little Mandarin. Hutu or Nanda-Hutu means to play dumb and say, well, I don't know anything about these cartels in Mexico. You know, it's none of our business. If Xi Jinping goes with that approach in the phone call, then I would predict really strong measures by Mr. Trump to get their attention. Well, on the other hand, if he's positive,
yep,
that's much better news for the stock market.
Well, I mean, look, it's so much, you know, undermining of the United States. So the overall policy coming out of the United States is expected to change. I mean, U.S. agencies are suspending China's DeepSeek, as it could be the CCP's latest weapon for spying on American citizens. I spoke with military software officer Nicholas Chilean about this last week. Here's what he said. Watch. And you say that DeepSeek is the next CCP-sponsored weapon after TikTok. Tell me more.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious. I was the first government official to call for the ban of TikTok. And what you see now is the CCP using the data collected with TikTok to now use this to train their AI models, of course, with the baked-in bias that the CCP wants to push across the world. And so, as you can see now, this new app that's been downloaded now, you know, hundreds of millions of times, is the next weapon for the CCP to be able to control not only information, but also disinformation. You know, we're not going to win this war against the CCP if we don't partner together. And, you know, that goes also with XAI from Elon Musk and OpenAI working together to now have a united fight against the CCP.
Michael, your thoughts on DeepSeek?
Well, I think he's correct. And I think the idea that the Biden team started, but they failed, was to have talks on artificial intelligence. The worst case is we don't want artificial intelligence to get into the nuclear weapons control system. There's been discussions about that in several countries. The Biden people tried to meet with the Chinese. Henry Kissinger was involved. It was Henry Kissinger's last trip to China when he's 100 years old, Maria. It was to talk about artificial intelligence limitations. So this is a very dangerous area. It's part of what would happen if Xi Jinping's next phone call is not good, if it's not helpful. then these things that you've been talking about, especially in your Fox Nation series on funding the enemy, underwriting the adversary, those topics like taking Chinese equities off the stock market entirely, those are the big sticks that President Trump may have to start using. But right now we're in this early phase where we just don't know from phone call to phone call.
No.
I remember one time Stuart Varney almost fainted on the set, Maria, when the stock market dropped 1,000 points,
Yep.
then almost 3% in a single day over trade talks and sanctions back and forth.
Yeah.
We may be in store for that in the coming year.
I want to get your take on underwriting the enemy. This is our new Fox Nation series that drops tonight. But first, Disney has just hit the tape. Let's get to Cheryl Casoni because Disney also is big reliant on China in a big way, Cheryl.
It is, particularly for the box office, which for this quarter that we're going to report on right now was actually very strong. But yes, especially with the box office situation with Disney, China is important. Disney did have a very strong quarter. They came in at $1.76. The estimate was $1.45. They beat on revenue, $24.69 billion. Moana 2, which was the big movie for them last year, actually really helped them. They are talking about a little bit of a hit from Hurricane Milton on their theme parks business, and they're also talking about streaming. Streaming was strong. They're talking about the advertisements. They built out more advertisements and password crackdowns. That actually helped on the streaming side. They're also going to be doing. They said that ESPN, the tile on the Disney Plus app, is actually improving. So the situation for Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus, Maria, is improving. They also said price increases actually helped revenue. The traditional TV business, that's the one kind of downside here, Maria. I will say it's down about 11% for the quarter. Back to you.
All right, the stock right now is up better than 1% on Disney on the heels of the numbers. You know, it's interesting, Michael Pillsbury with us this morning. Michael, it's been really the lawmakers to identify this bad behavior by China relative to the United States, undermining the U.S. through propaganda and through surveillance, et cetera, and intellectual property theft, not corporations. I mean, Disney has a big, business in China and relies, as Cheryl just said, on the movie-going public. And yet, this is more, in some ways, some people would say, of underwriting the enemy. We're covering the infiltration of the CCP into the United States. I've been doing so for years, and I'm breaking it down in season 2 of my special Underwriting the Enemy, available streaming tonight on Fox Nation. Here's a preview.
And in ancient Chinese history, these great dynasties, the way you overthrow the old hegemon is you don't arouse any sense of threat in him. Literally, wu means nothing, wei means action, to do something. So together, the two words mean to take action without other people knowing about it. Don't do it yourself. And as Mr. Trump likes to say,
we have built China with the money we gave them.
I believe he said that to Xi Jinping, who famously did not reply.
And Michael, there you are in the special with me. Tell us more about this issue and what kind of policy out of this new administration might you expect regarding China?
Well, your special on Fox Nation, Maria, I think is coming just at the right time. President Trump and his team, after this next phone call, are going to have to review their options and how they want to conduct themselves over the coming year. If it takes as long as it did last time, we're talking about 2 years before we get a final written agreement, and lots of escalation on both sides. I noticed in the Chinese reaction, the retaliation, I noticed they're raising the issue of critical minerals. I think this is because they know this is our soft spot. It's going to really hurt our manufacturing if we can't get graphite and this long list of materials China now threatens to hold hostage. It's really bad for us. So they've got a series of sticks they can apply to America, too. And worst case, I mentioned President Trump's Truth Social post 2 weeks ago. He's very positive. He says President Xi and I, working together, can solve many problems. He keeps using the word peace. He wants peace to come out of U.S.-China relations. This is all on the good news side. I hope that's what happens. But your special is bringing up how much we help China, even today, and especially our companies who shamelessly come to Washington and lobby on behalf of China testing the Foreign Agents Registration Act. They should be registering that they're doing this, but they get away with it because they claim, well, this is just our opinion as companies. So we can look forward to a really rough ride over the coming year if this phone call does not go well that President Trump is waiting for.
Well, one phone call, and I don't know that President Trump is waiting for it. He just said he's not in any rush, but I mean, it all lands on one phone call?
Yes, because that will tell us what direction Xi Jinping wants to go in. He's got hardliners, as you know very well. You've covered this story a lot. If the hardliners prevail in Beijing for a relatively weak Xi Jinping, then we're really going to face a roller coaster ride. So the tone of this phone call and how Xi Jinping portrays China's intentions toward us is going to tell us a lot about the next 2 or 3 years,
Yeah,
Maria.
it sure will. Michael,
your special is just coming at the right time.
Thank you so much, and we'll be talking with you along the way. Michael, good to talk with you. Thank you. Michael Pillsbury joining us.